Hey guys, welcome back to another YouTube video. It's been a while since I've made a video on Phasmophobia, and the reason why is there's been a massive update and I've been grinding. As you can see here, I'm level 91, Prestige 1, and I've been getting all the items so I could see what they do, and today I'm going to be going over what each one does, so let's get into it. So, Tier 1 dots. Tier 1 is a ghost pen, is like a little laser pen that points light. It's like, you'll get this when you start off. It's a narrow spotlight and you hold it with your hands. You can also place it down, which has been, if you played right at the start and never played again, you'll not know about that. There's not much to it except it's very hard to see dots with. I recommend if you're upgrading anything, I'd upgrade dots first, because the jump from tier 1 to tier 2 is massive and it'll really help your gameplay. So we move on to tier 2, it's an infrared motion sensor. So you place it down on the wall, on the floor, on the ceiling, whatever, and it just makes an area of light, 2.5 meters it says here. It's electronic, all these are electronic, so yeah, take that into account. So if you're like holding it during a hunt, or if you place it down, a Raichu will be able to speed up if it's there, so keep that in mind. And this one's a lot better for figuring out dots, and I'll go over the changes to dots after I've done with this, so it's really not much different to the one we had in the past, and we'll move on to tier 3. So tier 3 is, it's like tier 2, but it covers a lot more area, and it's like scans the room pretty much. So you can see here it actually says scanning, and it has a range of 7 meters. It's very wide as well. It says that there. It's probably the best placed on the wall. It's very like underwhelming on the floor, and you could also place it on some ceilings, such as on Willow Street or Grafton. You could place it on them ceilings there, which I think is very good. So that's it for dots. And what I was going to say about dots is you can no longer get dots during a hunt or a ghost event. And dots is synced up to the real ghost now, so if you see a ghost moving with dots, that is the actual ghost, and that is the actual ghost moving. So take that in mind. You could probably place salt under where you see dots, and overall I think it's quite a lot harder to get. So we'll go on to EMF. So tier 1 EMF, it's very inaccurate first off. All these are electronic again, so you could be detected by ghosts, and Raichus will speed up if they're on, and it's nearby you. It has a range of 1.7 meters, so it's not got a very big range at all. You need to be right up next to the object in order to see it. It's very hard to see like the differences between EMF 2 and EMF 3 sometimes, EMF 4 for example, but when it is EMF 5, you will know it's EMF 5. It's very obvious when it's EMF 5. So I guess that's the thing. You see accuracy low there, yeah. The trusty K2 has been used by paranormal investigators all over the world with consistent results. It's a larger range, 5 LEDs, yep, so it's the one we had before, the EMF reader we had before, a range of 2 meters, high accuracy, audio indicator and electronic. So yeah, not much to say, it's just your standard EMF, shows you if it's EMF 2 if it's touched the door, EMF 3 if it moved something, EMF 2 if it done an ability, EMF 4 if it's a ghost event, and EMF 5 if it's an evidence. So there's not much to it. And yeah, we'll go on to tier 3. So tier 3 is interesting, you could track up to 3 EMF spots at once. Also has an audio indicator, so you could tell, has a display screen, which it shows you the EMF level, as you can see where my cursor is, down the bottom left, that's the screen there. Also has a compass kind of thing, so it could show you where the object was thrown, the direction it was in, so you could easily take a photo. And also shows you the distance to where it was thrown, so it shows you how far the object was when it was thrown. Again, there's not really much to it. It's quite a simple one when you get used to it. You don't really need to get used to it at all. It's exactly like the tier 2 EMF, which we've had in the game for years. So we'll move on to ghostwriting. So we've got the tier 1 ghost ring. It's a notepad, you can see here, it looks cool. None of the books really do much apart from the range and interaction rates get higher. So you can see tier 1 has a range of 3 meters, tier 2 has a range of 4 meters, tier 3 has a range of 5 meters. The interaction rate on tier 1 is low, interaction rate on tier 2 is medium, and interaction rate on tier 3 is high. So there's not much to it apart from that. It's just better. So that is one to upgrade as well. I'd say all these so far are ones to upgrade. None of them are really downgrades to the other ones. So we'll get on to Spirit Box. So Spirit Box, now it doesn't give you an answer whether you're in a room, it gives you an answer based on how close you are to the ghost. So a range of 3 meters, range of 4 meters, and range of 5 meters for tier 3. You could hear the audio quality on tier 1 is very, very bad. It's very clunky, very chunky. And then tier 3 is very smooth. Now all these are electronic again, response rate low, medium and high, all 3 tiers. Tier 2 has a display screen, which I don't know why that's doing it as if it's something like extremely positive. It doesn't really help you at all. All it has is the icons there, which doesn't really do much. It flashes red here if there's no ghost, and white if there is a ghost and you get a response. Same here. The response doesn't really matter, so I'd say apart from the range, which is useful when you jump from tier 1 to tier 3, but if you're jumping from tier 1 to tier 2, it doesn't really make much of a difference. One thing to note is this range is in diameter, so circular range is quite big. So yeah, and they've also made changes, so every voice on the Spirit Box is now the voice of a content creator of the game. For example, Incense, Psycho, Flash Force, all them guys now have responses on the Spirit Box. So comment down below if you've noticed any of them. As we move on to the Thermometer, so this is the one where I think the lower tiers are actually somewhat better than the higher tiers. So in the first one we've got a thermo, which is I don't know why this is saying the accuracy is medium. I think this is probably the most accurate out of all of them. But it's very, very, very slow, and this one, there's not much to it. You know if it's freezing on this one. It sometimes gets stuck at 1 degrees, which is a bit weird, but other than that, I'd say this is probably you're better not upgrading to tier 2 and just waiting until you unlock tier 3 and unlocking that. So medium accuracy, yeah, I wouldn't say that's correct. But we go into tier 2 now, which is the same thermal we've had, but instead of just standing in a room and waiting for it to update, you have to hold it down, and then you scan the room. It's hard to explain, but you have to hold down the right mouse button, and it will then, after you've scanned it, it will give you a result. I don't think the accuracy is very high because it's very, very jumpy, so it'll go from 7 degrees to 2 degrees, for example. And this one's very much the same, although I think the accuracy is a bit better on this one. One thing to note is this one isn't electronic, so you can hold this during a hunt and the ghost won't figure out where you are, which is a very interesting addition. I think that's very, very nice and very handy, so I guess that's another positive towards this. So we go over here and glow sticks. I think this is probably the best tier 1 item in the game, simply because UV charge time is 10, 5, 1.5. Yeah, although the charge time is very high, you could just plop it down on the floor in front of the door and charge fingerprints for that to get photos. It's very easy to see fingerprints once you've got it. It has a duration of 60 seconds, but you can replenish it fully by shaking it, and you can do that forever and ever. Tier 2, I don't think this one's worth it. It's a very narrow spotlight. UV charge time's only half as long, and it's electronic, so you can be killed if you're holding it during a hunt and it's on. So overall, I say Tier 2 is definitely not worth it. Now Tier 3, however, I think is where you draw the line. I think this is better than the Tier 2 and slightly better than the Tier 1. Charge time is 1.5 seconds, so you don't need to hold it down for that long before you get to charge it. It's electronic, so again you do need to be careful, and the spotlight is very wide. So that's good. So here we have the cameras. There's not really much to these cameras apart from the screen on the camera when you're holding it is smaller between cameras, so this screen is huge. This screen's like the same as it normally is, and this screen is tiny. Paranormal interference, I think that's during hunts. It doesn't get interfered as much. These are all electronic. The image quality on this is low, medium and high. I haven't really noticed it that much. It's still just as easy to see orbs. Knockdown chance high, high, high. This is a new addition to buff the tripods, meaning that you have to place it on a tripod or the ghost will throw your camera, it's happened to me a few times and it is quite annoying. Let's move briskly onto the tripod. I've not had the tripod knocked down that often. So first one, the same standard tripod we've had for years, not really much to it. And then Tier 2 tripod, you can actually rotate it from the truck. There's a few buttons on the left and right, and you could rotate your tripod, and still get the same knockdown chance. And Tier 3, however, you could still rotate it, but it will have like a very, very low chance of being knocked over. So, I've never really had a problem with my tripod being knocked over by a ghost, yeah, I'd say Tier 2 to Tier 3 isn't really a worthwhile purchase. But that's just me. If you're having problems with it, go ahead. I don't mind. Tier 1 tripod is much better than the tripod we had before. There's been changes to it, so you could see it in the truck and all the sounds are played, so you could hear a Uri ability in a truck, maybe a Jinn ability, for example. No, you can't hear a Jinn ability, but stuff like that. But there's a range of 5 or 10 meters, you could change the range in the truck. If it's 5 meters, you could hear it more accurately and more pinpointed, and 10 meters, it's very broad. It's always a circle for Tier 1, placeable, and it's electronic, same as we usually had. Now, Tier 2 is exactly the same, but it's got a 15 meter range, so for large maps it's very handy. And then for Tier 3, it's the same as the Tier 2, but you've got different sensor shapes, so you've got cone sides, which means you can narrow it down to a spot, or you could just see if it's like to the side of it or something, which is very handy on large maps when you don't want to leave your truck, don't want to lose sanity. So let's move to Crucifix. Now this is interesting. Tier 1, you get one use, it has a range of 3 meters, which is the same for all of them. Now the range of Crucifix has stayed the same for Tier 1, except it's got -1 use, so it's like the old Crucifix. -1 use. Tier 2 Crucifix has a range of 4 meters and it has 2 uses, so it's the same as the old Crucifix with the uses, but it's got an extra 1 meter in range, which is handy. Not much has changed there except the range, so we'll move on. And Tier 3 Crucifix has a range of 5 meters and 2 uses. Now this is very handy, and it unlocks at level 90, so it's the latest one you unlock. Now, when you prevent a cursed hunt with it, it uses the whole Crucifix in one, so instead of 2 uses, you only get 1, which I think is a very fair balance, as you could use a summoning circle, get a photo of the ghost, get all the objectives, and then just bounce, just not what the devs want, so I think that's a very good patch. Paramic, they've changed the Paramic as well, so whenever you turn it on, you can only hear where the spotlight of the Paramic is, and it muffles everything around you. So this tier 1 has a range of 20. Yeah, there's not much to it. It's very simple, although it does have a screen, so you can't see like if there's any like sounds, if you know what I'm saying. You just have to get lucky that you're pointing it in the direction of the ghost whilst it does something. Tier 2 is the same Crucifix we've had for ages, range of 30 meters as a display screen, except it muffles the sound around you, of course. And same with Tier 3, range of 30 meters, display screen, distance indicator, distance and directional indicator. So it just has it's like the same as Tier 2, but whenever you hear a sound, it shows you where the sound came from, which you'd think's handy, but it's not as handy as you think. It's alright during hunts because you could hear the ghost moving, which is quite cool, I think, and you could see where the ghost's coming from. But yeah, apart from that, it's not all that good. So, Tier 3, 2, 1 photocam. So, Tier 1 photocam, it's really not much difference between the photocams. I'd say this is probably the one that you really don't need to upgrade unless you like screens. Tier 1 doesn't, Tier 2 and Tier 3 do. Time between photos high in Tier 1, medium Tier 2 and low on Tier 3. Again, doesn't really matter unless you're like trying to speedrun or something. Paranormal interference is medium for both Tier 2 and Tier 3, and they're both electronic. Tier 1 isn't. I think this is the biggest like killer with Tier 2 and Tier 3. Tier 1 you could hold during a hunt, you could take photos during a hunt without the ghost figuring out where you are. Tier 3 and Tier 2, however, you can't. However, with Tier 3 you can spam for ghost photos during a hunt, which is nice. So yeah, they've also changed it so 0-star photos don't count, which I think is bugged at the minute, because you could still get the ghost photo even though the objective is like, even though you've taken all the photos in the journal, which I don't think is supposed to happen. But anyways, we move on. Candle, they've made this, they've changed this very significantly. So it now has a duration of 3 minutes, and it doesn't fully stop sanity drain, but it does it slightly. So remove sanity drain reduction by, or increase sanity drain reduction by 33%. You can still place it as a range of 2 meters, so the ghost can only blow out from 2 meters, I believe. And yeah, there's not much really else to it. Except it only lasts 3 minutes, so if the ghost doesn't blow out in 3 minutes, you have to bring another candle in, which is because candles are consumable now, which I'll talk about later. Yeah, it might cost you a bit of money. Tier 2, with 3 candles instead of 1, the light provided is much bigger and lasts longer. Additionally, the firelight doesn't need to be held to gain its effect, so you can place it standby nearby. So yeah, you can't stand by the Tier 1 firelight in order to like keep your sanity up, but with Tier 2 you can, and it lasts longer, 5 minutes, and as 50% sanity drain reduction. So yeah, it's a very worthwhile addition. And if we go to Tier 3 here, it's infinite, it'll last forever, and it's not consumable, as you can see there. It's waterproof, so it doesn't go out in the rain, and you can place it down so you don't reduce sanity, and it only reduces sanity loss by 66%. So I'd say the candle line's probably one of the ones you want to upgrade. We move on to the flashlight, which is the earliest Tier 3 item you'll get. Now, flashlights are very simple. It's just Tier 2 is better than Tier 1, Tier 3 is better than Tier 2. that kinda jam. I'd say this is very worthwhile. I think you unlock it at level 39. Probably the best thing you could do. It's so helpful, especially early on. You could see so much. I'm pretty sure on Tanglewood from the front door, if you have the tier 3 flashlight, you could see right into the living room, which is just incredible. It's something you need to have as early on as you can. As we move on to the salt. Now the salt you're used to, are not quite so used to, because it only has 2 uses now, and it is consumable. And it's a small dot of salt, like normal. But yeah, let's have a look on tier 2, because this hasn't really changed much, but these definitely have. So tier 2 salt, what does it do? It has 3 uses, and it places a line of salt just anywhere you want. So you could place a line of salt in the doorway, for example, and it covers the whole doorway, so if a ghost walks through it, it can stand in it in the doorway, just whatever. Place it in hallways, ghost has to stand in it. Now tier 3 is like tier 2, but during the hunt it slows the ghost down for 2 seconds. Now, one very valuable piece of knowledge is that in the new update, ghosts can now step in salt during hunts, which makes wraiths able to be found out during hunts. If you place salt down and they don't step in the salt, then you can figure out a wraith. Yeah, so that's really all there is to salt. It's quite a cool addition. I love the black salt. It's such a cool new game mechanic that I think will go very far. As we move on to sanity pills. So sanity pills are ones I really do not think is worth upgrading. The sprint boost for tier 3 isn't what I thought it would be. It's not as useful as I thought it would be either. Now tier 1 sanity medication, sanity drain speed, sanity restoration speed 30 seconds, so it takes 30 seconds for the sanity pill to take effect, 20 seconds for tier 2 and 10 seconds for tier 3. This doesn't really make a difference. You could just stay in the truck for 30 seconds or 20 seconds or whatever. It doesn't make a difference to me. It's not really the biggest time waste in the world, waiting an extra 10 seconds or 20 seconds for my sanity to go up. But I think it is a very cool addition into the game, and these are also all consumable. Let's move on to the headgear. So tier 1 is just a regular head cam. It sends a video back to the truck and it shows your teammates what you're doing. Completely useless if you're by yourself. Sometimes useful if you're in a team. Again, we've had it ages. Now you have to hold T to turn it on, and it's electronic, so if you have it on, the ghost can detect you during a hunt. Now tier 2 is a head mounted flashlight, which gives you a little bit of light. I thought this would be really OP, but it's not. It's electronic, so if you have it on, the ghost can detect you during a hunt, which is very important. And then tier 3 is where I think the headgear really peaks. That gives you night vision, which is very, very, very OP, as you can just have that on. You could hold 3 items at once without a flashlight, and it's electronic, so the ghost can detect you during a hunt. I think you unlock this at level 85, but I do think this is probably one of the best investments you can get out for your money in Phasmophobia right now. Probably the most OP item in the game right now. So with that, let's move on to the lighter. So we have matches. You get 10 uses. They only last 10 seconds each, and are consumable. These matches really, I don't think it matters that it only has 10 uses and it only lasts 10 seconds. It really hasn't affected my gameplay at all. Like, for example, you can only light 4 smudge sticks and you can only light 4 candles. So and there's like 2 candles in the map maybe, so at most you're using 10 of your things. If you're using more, I don't really see what you're doing. If they reduced it down to like 5 or something, maybe then it would make a difference to how I play the game. Doesn't really, not worth upgrading, I'd say. But let's move on to tier 2. It's the same light we've had for years, except it only lasts 5 minutes. It's consumable as well, so when you use it, you have to pay for it, which is annoying. Doesn't really make a difference to me, to be honest. I'm not holding my lighter out that much. Let's move on to the tier 3. So, the duration 10 minutes, and it's waterproof, so you could use it during heavy rain. It's not consumable, so you don't use it out. You don't use it up whilst you're on your contract. The last 10 minutes doesn't really make a difference to me at all. So yeah, let's move on to the Smudge sticks, or Incense as it's called now. This no longer affects the whole map, which I think is a good change. Has a range of 3 meters a second. 3 meters has a duration of 5 seconds, and it's consumable. So it's like the old Smudge stick, apart from it doesn't affect the whole map, and it's not 6 seconds. It doesn't really affect me that much, but this is where it gets interesting. Tier 2, range of 4 meters, duration of 6 seconds, and it slows the ghost down during a hunt for 5 seconds, and it's consumable. This is your game changer. You're trying to get away from the ghost, so you smudge it. It doesn't follow you, but instead, what was I going to say? Yeah, but instead you could just run away, and you could do anything you want during these 5 seconds. The ghost is super slow. A Moroi, with all these smudge sticks, by the way, it will do 50% of what it used to, 50% of the duration. So, for example, the duration's 5 seconds, it'll do 50% of that, so it'll only be stunned for 7.5 seconds instead of 10 seconds. Same for this, it'll only be stunned for 9 seconds instead of 12 seconds, so they've nerfed the Moroi, buffed the Moroi. Just a quick note, and tier 3 has a range of 5 meters, has a duration of 7 seconds, and it halts the ghost for 5. Now, this is bugged at the minute, so whenever you crouch and move with it, you strafe at the same time. I've had this happen to me, and I've been killed by it a few times. But I think the halting ghost during a hunt is very, very, very interesting. It's a cool game mechanic, and it makes it super easy to get away from ghosts. You just have to smudge it at the right place. Say you smudge it behind the couch, there's no way the ghost is catching you unless you're stupid. So yeah, there's not much to it apart from that. It's consumable, which I'll go over. It's meant to move on to our last item, the motion sensor. So it has the tier 1 is a line sensor shape, light indicator, and it's electronic. All of them are electronic. So yeah, this one's actually, it's just, I don't think it matters that much. Tier 2 is quality of life, and tier 3 is weird, I'd say. Yeah, I don't know. I've not gotten too used to tier 3 yet, but I'll need to try out soon. But yeah, tier 2, tier 1's just the same as it usually is. It's the same as it has been for years, and I'm sure, no doubt, that you already know how it works. Now, tier 2, however, has sensor shapes, line and cone. Has an audio indicator on this one as well, so you get a little beep in the house when a ghost has stepped in it. Now it has a cone, which is very, very useful. Now before, to detect where a ghost was going, you had to place 2 of these motion sensors. You'd place them right next to each other, and if the first one went off and then the second one went off, you'd know where the ghost was going. But with this, you see these lights here. That's actually 2 separate motion sensors, pretty much, and they narrow out from cone, like a cone shape, and you can see what direction the ghost is going with it, which is very, very handy. Now this tier 3 motion sensor is a circle, so it detects the ghost in a circular motion and it scans about. I don't quite know what this one does yet, but feel free to leave a comment if you do. I think this one probably just, I don't know, be interesting, but I'll have to have a look at it later. But yeah, now before that I'll go on about consumables. All the consumable items: sanity pills, salt, crucifix, lantern, lighter, smudge sticks. All these items are now consumable, which means they will be used during a hunt by the ghost. Not during it. They'll be used up during your contract, and you'll have to pay for them afterward. Use a lighter during a contract, or a candle. You'll then have to pay for the candle again because you've used it up. Same with the sanity pills, you'll have to pay back for your sanity pills, which I think's, I don't know, I've not gotten too used to it yet. I'll have prestige and then I'll see what it's like again. But from what I could tell, it doesn't make much of a difference because all the items that are consumable are very cheap anyways. But yeah, let me know what you think of the consumables in the comments down below. And that's about it for today's video. If you do like it, like it. If you think I missed anything out, please comment it down below. Comment anything kind, constructive, or something you learnt from the video down below as well. Join my Discord down in the description below, and follow my Twitch. I'll be live there sometimes as well. And that'll be it from me. Subscribe for more Phasmophobia content, because there will be a ton of Phasmophobia content coming out in the next week or so. So yeah, subscribe for more, and I will see you guys all later. Bye bye. Bye bye.